Thanks for listening to the Drummers Weekly Groovecast. You can contact the show at twitter.com/DW Groovecast and through Facebook at facebook.com/Drummers Weekly Groovecast.
Good evening.
I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
Ain't a boogie. Ain't a boogie.
Mom!
Take it easy. Lower it.
I'm not gonna lower it. I have to do this now.
I don't mind you playing it, but lower it.
Everything get straightened out?
No, we had a problem. I mean, we tried to do everything we could.
What do you mean?
Well, you know what I mean.
Little trouble there. You're rushing.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Hello, Groovecast Nation. Phil here from your faithful duo. Welcome to a very special episode 56. It's your summer vacation Drummers Weekly Groovecast. I really thought about calling this thing the Vacation Show, but I knew that if I posted that on the description, you guys would look at it and think it was some kind of a repeat or something like that. So, you know us here. We don't do repeats. We try to bring you the best new content from week to week, and we think we've got a good one for you this week. What happened was back in May, I decided I was going to take a vacation sometime in July, decided to go the route of a cruise, and essentially what ended up happening through several different turnabouts of events, I was able to get in touch with some of the folks there on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas cruise ship, that monster ship that looks like basically the Empire State Building laying on its side cruising through the Atlantic. And when I was able to get in touch with them, they jumped right at the chance to sit down and talk to me. I told them I was coming on in late July, and our friend John Medeiros, who is, aside from being the drummer there in the Oasis of the Seas Orchestra, he's also the music director for the entire boat. He was able to get in touch with the other drummers that are on board. There are 5 full-time drummers on this ship, so that in itself will tell you that quite a few passengers get on that boat from week to week. And they all jumped at the chance to sit down with us. And so what you'll find out on this show is that we got a chance to talk to all these guys. There was a little bit of coming and going during this interview because there's a busy lot of folks there that are on that boat. Some of them have chosen to take on a few extra duties as their contracts will allow them. But for the most part, we talked about all the topics that you would want to hear about as your duties would be as a cruise ship drummer. We talked about, of course, a little bit of brief background info on each of the guys, where they came from, how they heard about cruise ship drumming. Then we talked about the audition process, the hiring process, any rehearsals that they might have prior to embarking on the ship, any other duties that they might have or choose to have, any restrictions that the cruise line puts on them. Overall, just daily life as well. And then, not to leave out our friends who love gear, we talked about gear, about what is provided on the ship versus what the guys like to bring on the ship, how they order things, how they get things, all that good stuff. So this episode is going to tell you just about everything that you'd want to know from all different aspects regarding how they feel about cruise life and playing on cruise ships. All right. So without any further ado, let's jump aboard Oasis of the Seas.
Well, it's not far down to paradise. At least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away.
All right, I want to bring to order the Fraternal Order of Drummers meeting here on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas. Guys, the first thing I want to tell our listening audience that have been checking out this show for 50 some odd episodes is not only is this the first time this show has been conducted outside of the continental USA. It is also the first time that we've had multiple guests. And speaking of, we have multiple guests walking in right now as well, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, we do. So come on in. Come on in. We're loose. We've already started. So, but you're just in time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the horn here, let everyone introduce themselves. And so what I'd like to do is we're going to start with John first. John, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you're from and your playing experience, education, that sort of thing.
Yeah, man. All right. My name's John Medeiros. I originally hail from the Baltimore, Maryland area. Played all through high school. Went to Towson University with a minor in music. Actually focused on audio production.
Uh-huh.
And then I ended up on ships, man. and it just took off. I actually had a friend. I was doing stage staff work, like tech, sound, and lights in amusement parks. I told a friend, I was like, hey, I'm going to go do cruise ships. I'm going to go do this. He's like, shut up, go drum. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, it'll be so much better. Just go drum. I'm like, all right. So I went and drummed, and now I'm here.
And now you're here.
Now I'm here.
So, John, how long have you been on Oasis of the Seas?
This is my 5th contract, so going really close, just over 3 years on this ship.
And then in total, how long have you been playing on ships?
Really close to 5 years. I started
Right
started in 2013, like at the end of the year, 2013, September, October.
Gotcha.
Something like that. Yeah, man.
Colin, you're next, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
I'm Colin Samuel from a little island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've never went to any music school. I've self-taught, but I basically learned all the stuff I know basically in church, from playing in church and stuff like that. Yeah, I've started cruise ships about, say, going into 3 years now. I've been on multiple ships. I've been on the Anthem, Independence of the Seas, Vision of the Seas, and now I'm on Oasis.
Awesome, man. How long have you been on this ship now?
Going into 6 months.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's go to Chris. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Chris Sangdon. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada.
Go Leafs.
Yeah. Spent most of my life in Atlanta, Georgia, but for the last 2 years I've been living in Bangkok, Thailand. And I studied at Georgia State University. I got a degree in jazz studies. I started doing cruise ships back in 2005. So I started with Carnival, played in the orchestra there. And then I was over at Princess for a little bit, doing lounge bands. And I think this is our 3rd contract for Royal. And we've been on this ship 2 months.
Awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
You are a veteran of this. You're 12 years, a dozen years in on the ships, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of life, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and now we have our new guest that has come in.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, that's all right, man. Just as long as you're not late when you're drumming, right?
I'm Marlo Salvador from Cebu, Philippines. I'm with a 6-piece Filipino band. And then I work in the ship Royal Caribbean since 2010.
Awesome, man. One of my best buddies that I play in a band with, he's from Manila. And he's by way of Boston, though. He went to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And so he always tells me, this is like my 4th cruise just as a civilian, and he always says, look out for the Filipino musicians, man. They're everywhere. All right.
It's not just the musicians.
They're
everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere, right? Well, guys, thanks for being here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to our audience today and tell them a little bit of what it's like regarding every aspect of the process of getting on a ship to play drums all the way up to what you're doing on a daily basis. So the first thing, let's start with the basic audition process, all the way from the point of how did you guys hear about or discover that, hey, this is a viable way to make a living? And like I said before, you guys just jump in. Anybody wants to start?
Go for it, Marlo. Oh, he's looking around. I'll start, man. I'll start, man. No, don't worry
Go
about
ahead,
it.
John.
Don't worry about it. You can just sit back and relax. Well, for me, I actually had friends that did it before I started, and they just had a good time doing it. So I was looking into how they got into it, specifically the music portion, because like I said earlier, I was actually gonna come on as like stage staff, but I'm so glad I didn't. One of my friends, he had an agent, so I just contacted that agent. I do not use that agent anymore, because he sucked. But yeah, man, I just ended up, and then I started talking to there's three guys that work shoreside that schedule musicians for Royal Caribbean cruises, and ended up getting in touch with them as well, and then I ended up doing that. So it was kind of like a word of mouth from a friend who's like, yeah, I did this before, and caught my interest.
It's very similar to almost every way we get gigs, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly word of mouth, I suppose.
You just hear
Right.
about something from somebody. It's like, oh, do they need more people? Yeah. Just contact this dude who I was working with.
Yeah.
I contacted that dude and started working.
Did anyone here go through an agent?
Originally, Originally, I did.
Did you have to pay him any kind of a commission?
No. It's changed over the years. There are some people that pay commission. There are some people that have that. But for Royal Caribbean, it's kind of like a headhunting fee that the office pays the agencies now. If the agency has a contract with RCCL or with Princess Cruises or whoever it might be, that agent gets paid by the company for the amount of people that they send over.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that there are some people that work with an agency that doesn't have a contract, so there is commission fees and stuff like that if they're placed outside of the norm. So if a dude has a contract with Royal Caribbean, but that person for some reason can't work for Royal Caribbean or whomever, and goes to Carnival or another cruise line, there might be fees involved there.
I got you.
But no musician should be paying any fees on Royal Caribbean ships.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have a different contact or a different way that they got on?
Yeah, move the mic.
Well, the funny thing was how I learned about ships was I was actually teaching at Georgia State University. Had this program called the New School of Music, I think it was called, and they would farm me out to like boys and girls clubs and like other schools that needed like percussion teachers and drum set teachers, and also like people who wanted to like do auditions into the School of Music to get into the university had to do auditions, but they weren't allowed to study with the professors at the university. So they had this program, and they would send them to me, and I would get them ready for their auditions. But I just happened to be walking around the hallways waiting for a student, and on the bulletin board there was a agency. Maybe I don't know if I should say the name of the agency or not, but
Landau.
No, it was Pro Ship.
Pro Ship. Okay, that was my second guess for Georgia.
I was like, so that'd be cool. Maybe I had never been on a cruise ship before, never traveled on one, had no idea. Did an audition. A day later, they offered me a contract to go to a Holland America ship. I was like, oh, well, send me the contract. Let me take a look at it. They took like, I think it was like 12%. And then on top of that, like taxes. So I called them back and I was like, I can't do that. That's too much. I said, I'm making more money like here. I can't do that. And so they're like take it or leave it. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to leave that. I hung up the phone. And I called my aunt, who was a travel agent, and she was like, why don't you just call the companies directly? So I did. And I called Carnival, did an audition with Carnival, and within a month, I was out on a ship playing in the orchestra.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Oh, we're losing somebody already.
Yeah, the latecomer is already rolling out. I'll tell you about all about him when he.
Okay,
we'll talk bad about him behind his back.
It's the old thing. The person who comes latest has to leave earliest, right?
Yeah,
it's all right. I know we're going to lose Colin in a little while. He's got a gig he's got to get to.
He's got till 3.
Yeah,
but
something.
Yeah, I gotta go eat and all that.
Yeah,
he's got to go eat and fix his hair.
Yeah.
Hey man, it looks good to me. So. Now, let's talk just a little bit about the actual sit-down audition process. Did everybody here audition?
Yeah, I auditioned, but it's not like face-to-face. I actually did it
Videos?
over
like a demo.
I just did it over the phone.
Yeah.
I had a demo on YouTube that I sent to people, but when they called for sight reading and stuff like that, I didn't even have. It wasn't even Skype. It was just literally a phone. I set it down and I played.
Wow,
Is that really weird?
That what happened to you, Colin?
Yeah, it's like we did a demo and then we send it off to the company and they say whether they accept you or not, and that's it.
Okay. Now, the next question. Now that we're down to the brave 3 here on this, what I want to ask is regarding the audition, whether it be stuff you've videos you sent in, and then obviously the phone audition. Do you audition for your particular spot, or is it a general overall audition?
It's per spot, and I'm the only one who comes on by myself. These guys actually come with a group, so the groups have to send in together, so they can tell you about the group stuff.
Well, what you do is that you guys get together and you do like short clips of different songs for me. I'm in a Caribbean band, so I play Caribbean music and a lot of different stuff as well. So what you do, you send a video of like short clips of different songs and basically like a 5-minute video, I think it is, and you send it off to the company and they send you back an email, tell you whether you got the job and stuff like that.
Is that your same experience, Chris?
Yeah, because I've had both experiences. I played in orchestra and I played in orchestra too, and so that was like an individual audition. And then as I moved into like playing in lounge bands and stuff, I would send in videos of my band. But in my particular case, since I've been out on ships for a long time, I tended to never actually have a band when I was getting the contract. I would send in videos of like previous bands I had played in, and then once I got the contract, I pick up the phone, I start calling people that I know. Like my band's from all over the world. My piano player's from Germany. The 2 girls that play in my band are from Vancouver. I'm living in Thailand, but these are people that I met playing in the orchestra for other companies. Like Till and I worked together in 2008 for a carnival, and one of the girls I played in a lounge band with for Princess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just as a side note, I've heard both you guys' bands sound great.
Thanks, man.
Wonderful, man. Really good. I'm going to stalk this guy later tonight and check him out. So now we kind of gotten through the audition, and you guys have heard back, and they go, yeah, cool, man. We're good. We're gonna hire you. I want to talk just a little bit about the hiring process. When they come back to you then, and they go, yeah, we want to bring you on board, is there room then at that time for negotiation from the standpoint of anything from pay to lodging to any other amenities that you can work in? Or is it like, hey, this is what it is, take it or leave it?
With my band, since I'm the agent, I guess you want to call it, we do negotiating. We sort of go back and forth with like numbers until we come up with a number that I find acceptable, and they give me a lump sum of money, and then I divide that up across my band.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's and so you're essentially responsible then for paying the other members.
Well, once we come up with a number, then they just pay them the same amount every month. It's a salary.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it. And that's the same way it works for you, Colin?
For us, it's different. We have a contract.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a fixed contract, and then it's over every 6 months. I think every June the company gives you a percentage, and that's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then John?
Yeah, we have it's interesting because Chris is part of the jazz band, and they're considered guest entertainers on board.
Yeah.
Colin and myself and Marlo, who was here earlier, are employee musicians.
Caribbean.
So we are hired by Royal Caribbean.
Gotcha.
Chris is hired outside of Royal Caribbean. He comes on with his whole group. So he's got a special deal in a sense. But both Colin and myself and Marlo and a couple other people, we are contracted musicians, so we get paid straight from Royal Caribbean without having to deal with. We have our own contracts between stuff. Colin comes on with a band, so the band gets X amount, and there's a band leader, stuff like that. Yeah. Chris is the band leader for his band, and Sid, the guitar player, is the band leader for the Caribbean band. And I'm there's difference in pay inside bands sometimes, like a little bit more for the band leader because they are in charge. Yeah. And then but everybody, like it's fairly even when it comes from orchestra musicians to centerpiece lounge bands. When it comes to the Caribbean bands, there's might be a little bit of a curve, but pretty much everybody gets paid fairly similar within $400.
Yeah,
okay. There's
scale,
not a big difference in pay between contracted employees.
Okay, now with that in mind, does Royal Caribbean offer you guys any type of benefits, whether it be any type of insurance or any type of retirement?
They do have some stuff like that, more so for striped officers. But they do have the availability for 401k or some sort of retirement option. When you're working on board, you are fully covered medically. You're not covered medically off the ship, but there is also a thing that you can talk to, like the HR center, about, like to try to pay and get into a medical program. But since it's also a U.S. based company,
gotcha,
and there's not a lot of U.S. citizens that work here. Right. I think I'm one of 58 out of 2,000 something. So it's more difficult, which is why they just flat cover you on the ship. And they offer some benefits to U.S. and Canada, I think. I don't know if they offer anything to Jamaica or Trinidad, Tobago, like the islands. I'm not positive on that, but I know that they do offer some things that you can talk to like human resources about and try to enroll into a program that they have. But it's not here's medical for you, here's benefits for you, here's dental, and nah.
Well, now here's a real super egghead business question for you here on this. Now, with you guys being Colin and John being actual contracted through Royal Caribbean, and Chris being, for lack of a better term, like an independent contractor on this, do you guys get taxes withheld from your checks?
Only U.S. citizens.
Yeah, because if you're a U.S. citizen, you have taxes taken out.
Okay.
But like my band members are Canadian and German, and they're getting paid in American, but then it gets converted into, the two girls are Canadian, gets converted into Canadian money,
into loonies,
and they they're making bank. They do pretty good, because the exchange rate, they're making money on it. Where Till, he's from Europe, he's actually losing money.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Damn euro.
It's the same for me. I'm making
really
because I get paid in U.S. So yeah, it's.
Okay.
That's good for the.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Exchange rate.
I get paid in U.S., so I'm just even.
Yeah, John is just even.
So, how long are each of your contracts? How long do you sign for?
Basically, for me, my contract and the other band members, we do 6 months and 3 weeks on our contract.
Why? Okay, now here's the obvious question. Why 3 weeks on top of the 6 months?
That's what I've been wondering, but I don't know why. But it's just the contract. You have to do that 3 weeks.
It changes, though. 6.5 to 7 months. It's somewhere in there. So it's not necessarily exactly 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Mine, we negotiate that. It's sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 4 months, sometimes it's 5 months. We would never do more than 5 months, and usually that depends on just whether the other guys will agree to do it 5 months, but usually it's anywhere from 3 to 5.
Gotcha.
And sometimes with all contracts, you can be extended. So you can end up doing more than the 6 months in 3 weeks. You can end up doing 8 months, because the last contract I did like 8 months. Because we were extended, for different purposes. You can ask for an extension, or they can give you an extension.
Gotcha. Now, the $1 million question that everybody wants to know about, on this. Okay,
What's
all right.
that question?
So now you're in the negotiation phase. You got everything pretty much ironed out, and let's be honest here. We're drummers. We're fancy men. We like to play our instruments, and that's pretty much it. But now, do you guys get told at the beginning of your contract that do you have other duties that you have to do when you're on board aside from playing music?
Just emergency duties.
Yeah, just emergency duties.
Yeah, nobody has
Everything.
On this ship.
Uh-huh.
From primarily most of the ships, a musician will never have to push a wheelchair.
Yeah, I
have
got
to
you.
load luggage, stuff like that.
Right.
That I have been on ships where I've had to go outside on embarkation day, the first day of the cruise, and check people's passports and stuff. I'm like, this is for not a musician to do.
Right.
So I'm not with that company anymore. But yeah, no, we won't ever have to. On this ship, you'll never have to do a side duty that is anything except for Marlo, who just left. He's doing side job work,
which is his
but
choice.
he gets paid.
Right.
He gets
Yeah,
paid
paid to do
extra
that.
because he's working for like the art auctioneers or something like that. So he gets $10 an hour or $12 an hour, whatever it is, and he gets more money.
Gotcha. But so that does answer another question that on other cruise lines, that is something that happens where, in other words, they'll tell drummers and other musicians that, hey,
Yep.
you're going to be
So
helping with
there's,
lunch.
There's wheelchair
You know,
duty. There's wheelchair pushing. There's luggage loading. There's
luggage
working
loading?
on gangways and stuff like that.
Luggage. You're serious with luggage
like
loading?
seriously, there's musicians that
we don't
have
have
had
to carry
go.
enough drums around.
Well, see,
right?
you came on as a
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah.
So you dropped your luggage off outside. How did that get on board?
Right. Oh,
yeah,
of course.
it's these dudes that are down there throwing luggage and trying to get it on the ship and take it up in the elevators. Musicians on other ships have to do that.
Let me tell you, man. If
That
somebody
ain't gonna happen here.
If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, man, we're going to give you $10,000 a week to play on this boat, but you got to load luggage," I'd say, "I'm going to look somewhere else." I saw how much luggage was coming on this boat.
$10,000 a week. I would do it. $10,000 a week. Yeah, I'll take that.
It's a euphemism, John. Yeah.
$1 million.
So now, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you is that during this, when you're getting ready to be hired and you get ready to come on the boat, do they tell you what type of restrictions do you have in regard, or are there any restrictions in regard to like where you guys eat? Can you go watch shows? Can you go to the casino? That type thing. Any restrictions?
And there's no employee that can actually play in the casino.
Okay.
They can't play any games because you're
Right.
employed. I think that goes for any casino on land as well. If you're working there, you're not playing there.
Yeah.
You can go to another casino, but no. And there are restrictions because we are in the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
When we're working on cruise ships, so it's guests come first and this and that. And we can go to the specialty restaurants. We got to make our reservations like anybody else.
Oh, okay.
We can go eat in the upstairs, like the Windjammer Cafe, the big buffet basically. But if it's really busy, don't go in there because the staff will be like, "Get out. We're dealing with a lot of people now. Go." So there are certain times that you're asked to show up if you want to eat there. But most of the time, it's just eating the crew mess and do your thing. So there's a lot of people that don't mind it, and there's a lot of people who are like, "I'm not going to go upstairs. I'm going to chill and do my own thing." Mm-hmm. So they don't even go into what guest areas. We just stay in the crew only areas. A lot of people only stay in the crew only areas.
I can especially understand after a period of time, and that you've seen everything 10 times over.
Yep.
That it's kind of like, hey, this crew area is fine with me.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, now
our beer's cheaper.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything else is expensive, but our beer's a little bit cheaper than what you pay.
All right. So now, Chris, this is going to especially mean a lot to you, especially having a residence in Thailand or coming over from Thailand. When you originally come to work on this ship and it's ported in Port Canaveral, does Royal Caribbean pay any of your travel to get to the ship?
They pay for it all.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so also going back then as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That is the case. That's very good.
Same for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, every musician that works, unless you get fired.
Okay.
Because you were an idiot or whatever the case. You'll have to buy your own way back, but everybody gets flights in and flights back.
I'm supposing the fireable offenses are the type of fireable offenses that would happen anywhere.
Don't
Yeah.
show, you can't be drunk.
Right.
At work.
Yeah.
You can't get in fights.
Right.
You can't. Yeah. There's a lot of normal stuff that if you were at a job and you did it and you could be fired, then yeah, you're gonna get fired here.
Yeah.
There's not a lot else that you'll get fired for here. There's actually a whole lot of work involved in firing somebody. So you gotta really mess up.
Yeah.
Unless the captain comes down and says you're out.
the captain he runs the whole thing.
The captain runs the whole thing.
Yeah.
If the captain says something, you do it.
Yeah.
But there are different ways of punishment. Sometimes you can get a warning.
Okay.
You can get one warning, and you get 2 warning, and then the final warning.
Yeah.
And then you're out of here.
It's the 3 strikes and you're out policy, like any other job.
It's very corporate, I suppose, in that way.
For sure. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't diddle any of the guests.
Yeah. Just don't miss your chronos.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We just went from PG to X. Oh, that was good, man. So now let's talk drum stuff now. Do you guys bring any gear on board, or do you use everything? And I suppose it is going to be different, isn't it, between the guys who are employed by Royal Caribbean versus like the independent contractors like you, Chris? Do you bring your own gear on?
I bring my own cymbals and I bring a kick drum pedal.
Gotcha.
I mean, they supply cymbals here, but I don't like them, so I bring my own.
Well, they're not great, but
yeah. And that's one of the running themes of our show, and pretty much every drummer's bane of existence is cymbals, because I mean, there ain't no tuning those. I mean, you got them and you got them.
That's it.
That's
Right.
pretty
well, the
much
cymbals
it.
that we have here, I mean, there's Zildjian. We have a lot of Zildjian.
Yeah.
On
most
board.
Zildjian gear.
It's pretty much Yamaha and Zildjian
most
that
of
we
the
have
Yamaha
on board.
gear.
Well, that's what I noticed. The first time I noticed,
and one DW somewhere, but I don't think it's being used. The Quantum has like all DW.
Yeah.
right?
We have all Yamaha drums.
On that ship, the
Yeah.
Anthem of the Seas, and it's just DW gear.
Yeah.
Strictly DW.
So
And
it goes
also
by
Zildjian
ship.
stuff too.
Right. So it's definitely one of those things where each ship is basically endorsed, for lack of a better term, by a certain company.
In a sense, I think it really falls to whoever originally ordered the stuff and what happens all night. Like Royal Caribbean has something with Sweetwater.
Okay.
So they order a lot of stuff from Sweetwater.
Uh-huh.
For Oasis, again, it's Yamaha and Zildjian. Some other stuff here and there. For Quantum, it's DW. I think most of the ships that I've been on have had Yamaha drums.
Gotcha. I was wondering if Royal Caribbean has
Most
a deal
of
with
the ships have Yamaha.
Yeah, you
Basically
made,
the gear.
you were playing this kind of a set, weren't you? Playing an Oak Custom up on the
Yeah.
deck?
Oak
Yeah.
Custom. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yamaha Oak Custom.
And then Chris, you were playing a lighter colored Yamaha kit. What was that, or what is that?
I actually don't know what.
It's just a different finish. It's
an
also
Oak
a
Custom?
Yeah,
it's
I
also
think
an
so.
Oak Custom.
Yeah. And John, on
But
your,
it's a smaller bass
it's
drum,
like-
stuff
it's
like
like a
that
little-
for his.
Yeah, it's a little bebop kick.
Yeah.
It's like 18-inch kick.
Yeah,
on
18.
it.
right. And again, most of the cymbals around here are Zildjians.
Yeah, most of the cymbals are Zildjian. We got a big room that actually has a bunch of Zildjians, and I went down there one day. I'm like, oh, no splashes, no this. I got a whole lot of 18 inches. I got a whole lot of 16-inch, and they're all the same style. Of course, they all have a little different sound.
Yeah.
But if you need a new 16-inch, you go down and grab a new 16-inch.
You're like, who ordered this?
So if you ever see a drummer
Yeah.
that has a whole lot of cymbals on their stuff, you can almost guarantee that they're all 16 or 18-inch crashes.
That's
and they're all the
interesting.
same make and model.
Yeah.
So except for the Jazz Club where Chris brings his own.
So
I just don't deal with it. That's too heavy. I don't want to carry that anymore.
Well, because I was going to say, I noticed that especially, man, do you have to take your own gear out to set it up on deck 15 when you do it?
There's the state staff that set up our gear and stuff. All I have to do is just come and probably adjust a little bit here and there, and then that's it.
I haven't moved a drum set in years.
You see, because he's in one venue.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in Thailand, they have like all the clubs have like kits in it. I just bring like my bass drum pedal and my stick bag, and that's it.
That's awesome, man. I am jealous.
Yeah.
I am jealous, man. 99% of the time I am
have to take your
schlepping gears.
I know, like
Yeah.
humping through Atlanta, like playing all the places there. No place had a drum set. You always had to bring your own kit.
There's one now.
Oh, really?
One. Yeah, there's one up in Alpharetta that does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is it a good kit?
It's an okay kit,
Okay.
man. Yeah, it's a lower line sonar kit. Yeah. So, now let's talk about rehearsals for the different shows. Now, Chris, this is not going to matter nearly as much to you since you have your own band, and really, I guess it's probably not going to mean that much to you either, Colin, because I mean, you guys just bring it right on board and just start playing.
Well, what we do, like, if there's a song that we want to learn, we send it out. The band leader sends it out to us. Okay, this is the song.
Okay.
What you do, you listen your part. You practice in your cabin because the guys have like the keyboard in the cabin, the bass guitar. So what they do, they learn their parts, and basically I'm the drummer. They learn my parts as well. And then when we come together, we just gel.
Gotcha. So in other words, is there any place in this ship where you guys can sit down and rehearse? Anywhere?
Obviously, I think we can use this venue.
Yeah,
John?
when people aren't using this
Uh-huh.
venue, like there's nothing in here now, which
Just
is why
close
we're
the
doing
door.
this in Dazzles.
Right.
So they can come up here and practice. Jazz on 4
I
is
think the
another
same
one.
for Chris as well. He can just close his
Yeah.
door and use his
He can
venue.
go into Jazz on 4 and stuff like
Yeah.
that and just do what he does.
Now,
as long as there's not, because people do buy out the venues as well. Because like at
gotcha.
5:30 there's a wedding in here or something, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in Jazz on 4 like at 8 o'clock. I don't know if it's quinceañeras or whatever it is. God knows. But yeah, there's private functions that if it's booked, you don't practice. Obviously, you'll get kicked out.
Well,
But
now
yeah.
here's a question for you. I just thought of it when you mentioned this because I never even contemplate. Like I said, this is the 4th cruise I've been on. I've never even contemplated that people would come on a cruise and then buy out a venue to have a special event. But when that happens, do you guys ever get booked to play those special events? Do you get paid extra for that?
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you guys just had one
like
a couple
2 weeks
ago.
2 weeks back.
I think there was one for
Us too,
it was both of them. They
Yeah.
did the day 3, and it was the same group wanted like a goodbye, and I think the jazz group did the day 7, like farewell party for this group that
Cool.
was in here.
Yeah.
Now, something that the listeners, if they haven't been on this ship before, are absolutely not aware of, and I wasn't aware of it till I booked the cruise, is that this ship has a full production of cats on it.
It does.
Yeah.
And John, you are the assistant conductor, right? Is that right?
Well,
Understudy
I'm the understudy conductor in
Right.
case something happens. Hopefully nothing happens because I really don't want to conduct. But but if something happens, if something happens, we have a dude named Alistair. He's brought on as the conductor for cats with 22 cats. He also plays piano. So all the conductors that get brought on play piano.
Yeah.
It's a requirement. But if he actually gets sick or something, I have to change the entire schedule because I would then have to conduct cats, which means that I won't be playing with the orchestra on day 1, 2, or 7, depending which day it is.
So now here's the question, and I know this doesn't necessarily, it's not going to affect the drummers that are here on this, but how did they rehearse this show before they bring it on? Like, how do they rehearse?
There's an actual facility in Miami that Shoreside. All Royal Caribbean production casts go there. Aqua, the diving shows, they have a place there. Ice shows, I'm not sure where the ice rink is. I think that's also in Miami, but there might be a different spot. But all of the production shows on any Royal Caribbean ship, they go to Miami. And they get housed there for, a month or however long it takes. In a huge facility where they do the FOI flying systems, if that's in their show, and the dancing, the choreography, all that gets taken care of in Miami. And then they have an install period on the ship to get used to the new stage and blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha. Now that you're on the ship and you're playing gigs, what are your stateroom situations like? Can you guys choose to have individual rooms, or do you have to bunk with somebody? How does it work? And then you guys are already laughing.
It
so
depends.
this is a bone of contention.
It depends on the ship.
I hit a nerve.
Well, one of the reasons why like the big ships is because I get my own cabin.
Cool.
On the smaller ships, like we actually started off as a party band. We were on the Jewel, which is one of the smaller ships, and then we actually were doing sets at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we couldn't play party music then, so we would play jazz. And I guess they got back to the office and said, "Hey, you guys want to be a jazz band on the bigger ships?" And I was like, "You get your own cabin, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yes."
Well, not all the time. You lucked out on this one, and I think the Allure as well. But usually the jazz group and the Boleros, the Latin band, share like bunk beds. Usually, but we got it split up. We got it split up proper for you this time.
Good.
And you mean legitimately bunk beds?
I mean legitimately. One is on top of the other, and you could yeah. You can hit your head on them type of deal. Yeah. And it's not the biggest room in the world, but Chris has a single share, which means that there's a toilet between 2 rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
That people share between them. It is about the size of the area we're sitting in now.
That's like a walk-in
like from
closet.
that chair to here. It is tiny.
Legitimately.
But it's your own spot. You can just get away from everybody.
It is, isn't it, Chris? It's legitimately, like you said, about the size of a walk-in closet.
Yeah.
Then,
Super small. Like the bed pulls down. You have your desk underneath it. So when you get out of bed, you have to put the bed up, or you can't like walk around in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not a small dude. I could elbow to elbow if the bed's down.
Yeah.
From wall to bed. That's all the space you get.
Wow.
But it's still good because you have your own space.
At least you do have that. Yeah.
But I got a bigger cabin. Yeah.
For John.
So when you guys are in the middle of a contract, is there any such thing as vacation time during like if you're on a 6-month contract?
If you're on a 6-month contract, you're on a 6-month contract. Your vacation is at the end of your contract.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I go home for my vacation. Everybody comes here for their vacation. I go home.
Right. And like, for example, then when you guys would go home, how long would you go home? Do you have in other words, do you have a choice? Can you go like, you know what, guys, I want to sign another contract if you'll have me back, but I want to take a month off. Can you do that, or how does it work?
It's usually 8 weeks.
Okay.
People take 2 months off, 6.5 to 7 month contract, and then take two months off.
2 months, yeah.
I take 6 usually, just because that's plenty of time.
Mine's between like 3 and 4
months.
Weeks or months?
Months.
Yeah. Go back to Thailand.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. So then when you are on board, can you have any guests on board? Like, can you have any friends or family?
They do have a friends and family thing where you can get people on for X amount of money, but it's kind of a pain because it's like standby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flying.
If a spot is available.
Like you gotta like, since we're musicians, we deal with the cruise director, and he can look up and do all this stuff and say, hey, this week is underbooked, so this is a good week to try to get friends and family out. It doesn't always work that way because obviously there's time, and on the busier cruises, they have like Kat Wells. She's the pub guitarist that's on board.
I
saw
her last night.
She's wonderful. I love that lady. She just had some friends and family on, and she wasn't sure if they were going to get a stateroom or not.
Wow!
Because they literally are on standby because they pay, I don't know, $40 a day or something like that to get a stateroom. Now, I'm lucky because I actually have my own like larger sized room as the musical director, so I could sign somebody into my cabin.
I got you.
And I've been asked by other musicians if I can sign people into my cabin, and I don't want to do that because then they have to stay with me, and I don't know this dude. But yeah, most of the time, it's like the standby friends and family plan that Royal Caribbean offers. They don't even guarantee rooms, and that's I don't much appreciate that, but that's what they do. You can, if you have X amount of space, or if you have 2 beds that aren't being used, you can sign somebody into your own cabin, into the crew area. It has to be specially signed by the staff captain and stuff like that. That's a lot harder, but that's like $10 a day. They're still a guest, but they stay in your cabin.
Yeah.
And they don't even offer that for these guys because they're in a single share, so it's made for one person.
Yeah.
They won't even let you sign a second person on.
basically a fire hazard for
pretty
for
much.
that. Yeah. So what
doesn't stop two people from going into that room at night, but
Yeah.
it definitely isn't allowed.
what deck are you guys on?
I'm on 2. They're on 1.
So you guys are like down there with the engines
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, man.
So you've already made me jealous. You've told me that you have cheaper beverage options for the crew. What other out-of-pocket expenses do you guys have while you're on board? Because room and board's taken care of, like food's taken care of. What other things do you guys have to pay for? Do you have to pay for internet or?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we pay for Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it's actually, see, we get cheaper beverages, but it's a lot more expensive for our Wi-Fi because it goes hourly.
Yeah.
I think you could buy like a full week of Wi-Fi on this ship for like $119.
Uh-huh.
And they do have fast-ish internet. It's streaming. You can watch a movie. You might chunk a little bit, but you can watch a movie. For us, it goes hourly. It's like $4 an hour.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
You guys have to be careful then.
Yeah. They have packages where you can buy like 300 minutes and get 300 minutes for free or something like that.
Yeah.
Some specials here and there, but that's still like
But it's still
40,
expensive.
50, $60 depending which package
When I
you
have
buy.
new people in the band, I always like to tell them they have to pay rent, and, you know, water and utilities and electric. At the end of the month, I knock on their door, and their eyes get wide.
It's a $100 food bill every month. You just leave the money on the outside of your door.
So a little bit more about everyday stuff that you guys deal with. Let's talk about your performance schedule, because this ship does it's pretty much 7-night cruises, right?
Yeah.
That's what this one does. So you kind of live your life in 7-day chunks as far as, and then it repeats again, right? Yeah. So on a normal day, Chris, how many hours a day are you gigging?
We do anywhere from 3 to 4 sets a night.
Right. And by this is Chris with the jazz band, with the And then Colin, how many hours a day are you
It's
playing?
basically the same, like 3 hours a day, 45 minutes sets, something like that.
And yours, man, when I saw you, it's in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Do you do any night gigging?
Yeah, we do some night gigs on day 4 where we replace the band in the Boleros.
Gotcha.
The Latin band, yeah. I think, that's it. That's
Cool.
basically it. And some embarkation days, we switch between, sometimes they play on embarkation days, and then 2 weeks we play in the next 2 weeks, something like that.
Gotcha. And then John, what about you? Aside, you have the emergency conducting cats if need be.
Need be, but I'm pretty. See, I also make the schedules.
So John
luckily,
a little bit more about
everybody gets a day off here.
Yeah, we got.
I give everybody a day off. I don't need to. I can have everybody work 7 days a week.
Colin, you want to say something?
He wants to say something, but it's rare when I force someone to work 7 days straight. There's other ships where you're doing at least 2 hours every day.
Now, do you guys ever switch gigs? In other words, is there ever a time that you guys will sub for each other?
Not really.
No.
Because the schedules clash a lot.
Well, when I was on the Jewel, they fired the show band guy. He got in a fist fight with the saxophone player.
God, tell me it was during a gig. Tell me it was during a gig.
No, but I have seen that happen on the gig. Like,
Yeah.
when I was working for Carnival, like the curtain was closing. This was a funny story because, like, I don't know what was going on. I just saw him do it, and I think he meant it as a joke, but the guy did not take it as a joke. And the piano player, there was this moment when the saxophone player has a spotlight on him. He's doing the saxophone solo, and the piano player stood up and just smacked him in the back of the head. And as soon as the gig ended, the curtain it was starting to close, but it hadn't closed yet. And the guy stood up, and he was like, wow, I probably shouldn't
cursing
say what
and
he
yelling,
said. And then they just started to brawl on the bandstand, and the band leader and the cruise director had to grab both of them, and that was the end of those two. But on the Royal ship, they were Russian and Ukrainian, and it was sort of like a political thing, and they got into a fist fight in their cabin, and they got canned, and band director came to me and was like, "Hey, I need you. You're the only other guy on board that can read."
Yeah, I think I already talked to you. I think like if someone ever gets if the conductor ever gets sick, I was like, Chris, you might be called up to do the big band set or whatever it might be. But yeah, it rarely happens. But I've had to sub in for jazz because that dude hurt himself out in the pool. Decided to dive in like 2 feet of water and smacked his head. Yeah. So I've filled in for special events, prohibition.
It doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen often, but it happens. Like if Colin ever got sick or broke something, I'd probably fill in upstairs for him.
Yeah.
It's basically the same.
But yeah, just don't hurt yourself. It's rare. I mean, unless someone is seriously injured or really sick and like confined to their cabins because they got diarrhea or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or they got some gastrointestinal illness.
Well, you're dealing with a sick guitarist, right?
I'm dealing with a sick guitarist right now, and we actually have a set tonight that has 6 singers from Cats, and we do a bunch of progressive rock, Chicago, and stuff like that. Doing that without a guitar player is gonna really be annoying.
Yeah,
so
I'm coming to see it, man.
I think my piano player is gonna be covering a couple things, and we play China Grove.
Yeah,
starts with guitar, so I think I'm gonna have my bass player play the guitar part at the beginning.
All right,
I'm just like, you got to come up with something. He's not available, and Astrid's playing tonight. I can't pull her off from the jazz group. And I don't think Sid or anybody else knows how to read music.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So they can't read. Astrid in the jazz group would be the only one that actually reads music. And she's got a gig, so I can't pull her up here. So we're going without a guitar player.
Yeah. So in each of your guys' different groups, whether it be the orchestra or the Caribbean band or the jazz band, do you guys get to choose your own set list, the tunes you want to play, or are there any regulations that they want you to do?
I get to choose my own set list. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, for we just go with the flow.
All right.
We go with what the guest wants. We just give them what they want. Yeah. Sometimes they take requests. We just go with it.
But no one on the ship, no one in Royal Caribbean says you got to play "Stir It Up,"
or
anything. Yeah,
you got to play this. But that's what they want. They want to hear a lot of Bob Marley stuff and all that stuff. So we give them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because after time, like what the guests want to hear. They're going to ask for Three Little Birds. That's like an anthem.
Yeah. And then, John, in the orchestra, you guys can pick whatever you want to play?
Pretty much. Only for the preset shows, like the in concert. It used to be called Summer Breeze because there's singers, and it's like a little production in here. They have to do that, and we can't choose our own set list or anything like that for those shows. But like we have big band nights, and we have stuff in Jazz on 4 that we do. We play whatever we want.
Does anybody in any of the groups here play with sequences or clicks?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You guys do? Yeah. So with that in mind, you guys all have inner monitors for that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, for me, I have my monitor right there, so I hear like everything. I doesn't play with a click.
Yeah, they use sequencers and stuff like that with the
we have
keyboard player.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, with that in mind, with the technological aspect of all this, do you guys have hands in creating that stuff, creating the sequences? Do you also have the ability to change your sequences, like through Ableton Live or anything like that, or is it pretty much just this is the sequence and we're going with it?
Well, for us, he has the sequence run through we do just like percussion stuff, like percussions, added percussions. So he have it run through a drum machine, and that's basically it. If it doesn't use Ableton, that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they don't need to change it, and any times that I'm using click, it's for either a production show or a headliner that comes on, being in the orchestra. So it's usually just click. That they have backing tracks, I don't even listen to it anyway.
I'm very similar.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I do a nice little mix. We use Avions in the theater. So I do a nice little mix so I can hear the horns, I can hear the rest of the rhythm section, and then I have a nice loud click and all their backing tracks and stuff, unless I decide not to count and I really need to listen to whatever song it is because I might already know it. I just turn it off. I don't even listen to it.
Gotcha.
I just click and whatever my guys are playing, that's it.
Now, technical question. What do you guys like to do in your downtime besides do podcasts when you're on the ship?
Sleep.
Yeah, I imagine, especially on the lower decks. Does it get a little dark down there?
Well, I have a nice little porthole now, so I'm not too. I get some sun, some light. Sometimes I actually close it because I want it to be dark. But yeah, it's either bar or sleep or go to the mess and shit.
All right.
I always walk in and I see Colin and the rest of the Caribbean band sitting
we're
around
just hanging.
like all the time for like 3 hours at a time. They'll have a plate and then they'll just sit there and chat.
I was gonna say, Colin, you go to the gym, man. You're jacked up, man.
Yeah. For me, I go to the gym, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm not too tired from the heat.
Yeah. Chris, what do you like to do on here?
I go to the bar. I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Do some reading. Watch some movies. Yeah.
Is anybody here pissed that do you have to pay to go to the thermal suite on here?
Thermal suite?
Do you know about that? That's like the steam rooms and everything.
Oh, thermal suite. No. Most people are allowed to use that, actually.
See, I am so pissed, man, because every cruise I've been on, I always look forward to going to the steam rooms, and now I've got to pay to go to
Oh,
it.
really?
Yes. Yes. See,
I thought that. Well, I mean, so they consider that like a spa treatment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Although, but if
that's crazy.
If you're friends with some of the spa girls, they'll let you in.
Oh yeah, make friends with some of the spa girls, man.
All right, so guys, we're starting to power down here. Starting to finish up. One more question that I'm going to let you guys kind of have the floor with something here for a second. I want to go kind of around the horn here. What is first your favorite part of cruise life, and then we'll say what's your least favorite part of cruise life. Chris.
I guess it's an easy gig. I don't have to move anything. I just show up and play every night. That's probably the easiest part about it. Working on land, it's a lot of sort of schlepping, making phone calls.
Yeah.
I think it's harder, like way harder on land than it is out here. I mean, once you get the gig out here, you sort of get accustomed to like just showing up every night and playing and just, getting that paycheck at the end of the month. And the hardest thing, or what I don't like the most about this gig, is that I have to be, away for a long time.
Yeah.
I got a little 2-year-old, so, not being there for
Sure.
months on end, it's sort of hard. But, I do it for him.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Colin?
Well, for me, the good thing is that you get accustomed to your musicians after
Yeah.
playing for a good while of time. So being in one band, you guys get to gel, you get tighter and stuff, instead of, you start playing with one guy and then you got to play with this different guy. So being on cruise ships brings you together instead of if someone is fired or something like that. But you guys can be together for a while. That's the good thing about this gig. You guys stay together. And you get to see the world, man. You get to travel, see different places where you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing. And the bad thing is, like Chris said, is like sometimes I get homesick. Like I miss my friends, my family and stuff, being away from home.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It's good life, man.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, man. Same. Almost same for most of it. Like a combination of both. You get to play all the time. It's a consistent gig.
Yeah.
You're playing every night. You don't have to worry about moving. You don't have to worry about making phone calls, trying to see if there's a gig or see if there's a gig that's canceled.
Yeah.
It's a consistent paycheck, and that is really rare for musicians most of the time. I mean, you're trying to find gigs. So here it's a consistency thing. It's really nice, and I think everybody would answer just being away from home.
Yeah.
So we've had people that in bands that are on right now that have had deaths in the family.
Yeah.
That didn't go home because they were trying to make more money, or it wasn't. It's a really hard thing to be away for so long. So it's you just never know. Ailing fathers, passed away, family members, mothers, fathers, brothers. It's and you're disconnected. Actually,
Sure.
there's a lot of new music I haven't heard because I am so disconnected.
That's the same thing too.
That's actually one of the hardest things to try to keep up with with music, especially people that want to come on and they want to listen to top 40. Well, top 40 changes in 6 months, so by the end of your 6-month contract, you're a year out of date in a sense because you're playing from what you knew before, and you go through a contract, maybe another contract. You didn't learn any new songs because the new songs came out. You haven't heard them yet. That's actually really difficult as well as a musician to try to keep up with all the music that's coming out.
You know,
due to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Give us free Wi-Fi so we can download.
Yeah, if
new
it's
music.
free Wi-Fi, then we will be updated to everything.
You know, I have told people the longest tour that I've ever been on was about 4 weeks, and it took me literally when I got back home about 2 weeks to like plug back in and kind of get back into the real world. I always tell them it's like when you're gone, especially that long, and much less 6 months, it's a little bit of a suspended reality. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's difficult sometimes.
Yeah, and then, you know, because then you get home, and then, like, especially if you're then looking for gigs, you got to get back into the routine of looking for gigs, paying bills, blah, 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 just all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I totally understand that, especially on a 6-month contract.
No, we do stop at places so we can get free Wi-Fi if people absolutely don't want to buy it. So you can sit at a restaurant outside in Jamaica or Cozumel or wherever and do Wi-Fi. And if you go into a restaurant, if you're on a cruise and you go into a restaurant and you see a bunch of people with their laptops, you just know that they're crew. They're sitting there getting their Wi-Fi. That is what they do.
Yeah,
and just get Wi-Fi.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing. And then once you actually get home, I don't understand how people did it in the 90s, early 90s.
Oh, sure.
80s.
Yeah.
I mean, because they are literally disconnected for however long they're gone. No Wi-Fi, no nothing.
Yeah. So is there anything that you guys want to talk about or anything you want to mention that we haven't covered? If there's anything that sticks out as far as like, I want these folks to know this about Cruise Life.
Yes, the bands actually play. It's not lip syncing.
Yeah.
No, you can't come up and sing or play the instruments whenever you feel like it, because they are ours. You can talk to us. We'll let you come up and sing or jam, because I like people to sit in, but don't assume that you can do it. And yes, we are real musicians. We're not making it up, man. We're not. It's not a lip sync battle. We're actually playing.
I could testify to that. I've seen you guys play. Anybody want to add anything else?
I don't know. I can't think of anything really. Just my band is called the Remedy Jazz Quartet, so we have a CD out. So
all right,
pick it up.
What's your website?
Yeah, do it, man.
Well, we actually don't have a website, but you can check us out on Facebook, and if you write us an email, we can send you a copy, via internet, or we can put it in the mail for you.
Right on.
Yeah. It's a Remedy Dance Band. We actually need to update the site because it was what we were actually the party band.
And yes, they're free for bookings. You can contact me. I only take 15%.
Oh,
it's all good.
And then before you contact him, you have to contact me, and then I'll take 15% of his 15%.
Yeah.
So
we'll play for food.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to close it out with a weird question. So you guys have been on different boats, and then of course this boat as well. Have you ever been on a cruise and then all of a sudden you look out either in the audience or you're just walking around and all of a sudden there's like some incredibly famous drummer that's walking by, like all of a sudden Billy Cobham's on my ship? Have you ever had that happen?
Not a drummer for me.
Yeah.
But there was a headliner that was doing a Michael Jackson medley.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson dad was sitting in the audience.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was just like sitting out there. And the headliner didn't know it until the next show. So he's like, holy crap, his son died like a couple years ago, and I just did a tribute, like a medley, and his dad was sitting right there.
His dad was actually cruising on this ship.
He was cruising.
On this show.
And the headliner didn't even realize it until after the fact.
On my first ship, I got to meet Shirley Caesar.
Okay.
The gospel artist here. Yeah, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
I met Andre 3000.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I actually ended up doing some studio work for him. He had a cartoon, and I did some sound bites because I played hand percussion too.
Yeah.
For like one of like the cartoon characters. But,
That's great.
I did
man.
that before I met him out here, and then he was out here at Boat Drill, and I saw him there. I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And we talked for a moment.
Wow.
And that was
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no famous drummers that I met yet. I've actually been waiting for
Yeah, me too.
for someone to show up.
Like,
that
yeah.
I know.
But I guess everybody's
Like all of a
always on
sudden you
tours.
look out, you're sitting there playing some funk set or something, and like Dennis Chambers sitting right there. I'd probably crap my pants, but yeah, no, that hasn't happened to me yet.
All right, guys, man, this has been fantastic.
Yep.
I really appreciate you guys sitting down and doing this because, like I said, I know that between everybody's schedule and we're keeping Colin away from lunch. He's having too much fun. He doesn't want to leave yet.
He's got a full hour. He'll be fine.
So, all right, guys. Well, look, man, we really appreciate it. And like I
thank
said,
you.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Our
Thank you, Phil.
listeners will be absolutely thrilled to hear this because this is something that, you know, if you're not hip to this, if you don't know what's going on
Cruise
on a
ships.
ship, man, it's a complete mystery. Because I tell you, I've learned something in the last hour as well sitting here,
Yeah.
so it's very cool. So,
Yeah, and they're always looking for musicians,
Yeah.
but you gotta have a mindset for it. People come out and they're like, "Nope, I'm leaving."
yeah.
So you gotta have a mindset for it. But yeah, it's a consistency, and it's a gig.
Yeah.
And if you're actually serious about playing, then you're playing every night.
Yeah.
If you do
You
the
guys do
orchestra,
grow,
you're
like-
playing all
yeah.
sets. If you come with your own band, you're doing what your band does. So it's a gig. What's the easiest way to piss off a musician on land? Give them a gig,
There you
then
go.
they actually got to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's a gig. If you're serious about playing, you can meet some really good people on ships, and you can
I think
learn.
it makes you a better musician.
Yeah,
just getting
because-
to play every single night.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that actually, I'll tell you, that is the bane of playing on the mainland. Playing on is the exact same thing. You're not going to be playing 7 nights a week unless you're on a tour, and even then, the way most tours are done now, man, it's couple nights on, couple nights off, couple nights on, that type thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to get your chops up for sure.
Yeah, I've only got one guitar player friend who's actually on a consistent tour with a Cowboy Mouth.
Yeah.
And other than that, all the rest of my musician friends, like, they'll play here.
Yeah.
And then they'll go work their daytime job, and then they'll go play another night when they get another gig. So it's difficult.
Awesome, guys. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, Phil.
Say goodbye to the Groovecast Nation, guys.
Goodbye to the Groovecast Nation, guys.
Goodbye.
All right.
Make sure to
see
check
you
us
guys
out.
next week. Bye-bye. All right. Big thanks to the drummers from Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas. Personal thanks go out to John Medeiros for coordinating all this. He was so gracious from the standpoint of providing not only space, but some extra gear to record this show. I only brought a laptop and a converter on board. He brought microphones, cables, stands, and then just a lovely venue for us to record. It was great. So big thanks again to John. And while I'm at it, go ahead and throw out those thanks to Chris, who plays in his group, the Remedy Band, Colin in the Caribbean Band, and then the very special guest, in and out like a shot, Marlo from the Centerpiece Party Band that played actually in the venue where we recorded the show, a little venue called Dazzles. So if you're ever on Oasis of the Seas, don't be afraid to go up and say hello to those guys. Each of them very, very personable, very nice folks. And I hear from a very reputable source that if you get a good vibe, they might let you sit in, play a tune or two while you're there. So, again, hope you learned something from this one. I know that I did. I've never played on a cruise ship before. I've only been a civilian, a tourist, someone who pays the bills for those guys. So I learned some things as well. All right. As always, folks, we appreciate you listening to the show. Your continued support is not lost on us. Stay in touch with us. You can email us at our Gmail account. It's drummersweeklygroovecast@gmail.com. You can also interact with us on our Facebook account. It's facebook.com/drummersweekly Drummers Weekly Groovecast. And then you can tweet us as well. We are at DW Groovecast or twitter.com/DW Groovecast. Lastly, before I let you go, I know you hear us talk about it from time to time, but it's so important to us that if you enjoy this show at all, please swing by iTunes and leave us a brief written review. I mean, that's better to us than money. Well, almost. But we don't have any kind of account set up for you to give us money. We're never going to do that. We want you to leave us a brief written review on iTunes. It really helps us relate to other shows of our ilk to where if anybody's listening to those shows, they can also see us and listen to us as well. All right, so that's going to do it for this week. On behalf of the effervescent and ebullient John Chalden, this is Phil. We'll see you next Monday.
Spirits are using me, larger voices calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world, looking for that woman girl who knows love can endure, and you know it will, and you know it will. So we cheated and we lied and we tested, and we never failed to fail. It was the easiest thing to do. You will survive being bested. Somebody fine will come along, make me forget about loving you. In the Southern Cross